Right. So we've got the start of our castle looking pretty good. It's all right. There's some detailed things. Just going to go over some really kind of fun transformations that can just make things look a little more interesting. What happened to our curve? There it is. There's our curve. Oh, look at that. You know what we did? We arrayed everything and the curve itself. So what I'm going to do is, here's a quick tip, is if you want to get rid of some geometry. Like we don't have really that many other curves in here. So what we can do is we can, let's see, we can right click. We can, nope. Well, we'll middle button click if you have it. And nope. I'm looking for the option, which I'll just come up here and go to edit, select objects, and I want to select all the curves. And you can see it's selecting every single curve. Now I'm going to deselect just these two curves, save them for reference, and the bottom curve over here. There we go. And then delete all those other curves. Mainly just so we just don't have that information in there. Now, one thing that might be a good idea is let's start organizing this. You can see over here in the layers side, I have like different layers for different parts of the castle. I'm going to do that. I can come down here by hitting plus, and it's going to let me add a layer. So let's just say castle, and I'm going to plus again, and I'm going to say walls, plus again. Let's just do roof, and I'm going to put those into the castle layer to make some sublayers. All right, so what I'm going to do is then select all the poly surfaces, edit, select objects, and let's select, well, they're actually all extrusions because they're really lightweight objects. Let's just select the extrusions. And now that all of those are selected, I can come over to my wall layer, select it, and then right click, and then I can say move objects to this layer. That's because I'm going to select some of these bricks up here to be in the roof layer. And we're going to turn this into a roof, this section of the wall. It'll be really cool. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move this circle up. And I'm going to use my gumball command because it's a simple movement. And I want it to relatively stay where it is. So I'm going to hit the blue layer, and it's going to say, do you want to move it to? Now each block is 1 inch thick. And why don't we move it 35? Oh, it's all right. Let's move it down by like 4. All right, so we'll hit that again, and I'll say -4. And the reason I want it right there is because that's going to be a reference point for our transformations of these blocks. And they're some pretty fun transformations. So I'm actually going to select all of these extrusions right here. Let's get that other layer in. And I'm going to change those to move objects to this layer. And at the same time, I'm going to deselect the curve. Make sure you deselect the curve, or I was going to group them, but what we can do is, an easy way to group is to hide the walls, because then all that's left is our floating roof. And I can hide the lines. I'm going to go to roof and then hide the lines. But our line is still in the roof layer. I will change that back. Move objects to this layer. There we go. That way, so I can just easily select those, group them, so they're one object. Now I want my circle in a different layer. Just so we can keep things nice and tidy. If I want to, I can turn my wall layer back on. Why don't we just lock it for right now? If you want, you can change your roof layer to a different color. Let's just say, let's make it a brown roof. Now, one fun thing is we can use this taper command. And you can taper a single item, or what we're going to do is we're just going to taper all of these at once to make some sort of crazy roof. So I'm going to select all the objects that I think I'm going to use in my roof, and you'll see what the taper command does. I'm going to hit taper, and it's going to ask me start of the taper axes, because remember, look down here in our help panel. It's kind of describing what it's going to do. You're saying you're going to make an axis. That way you can taper one end to be larger or bigger. Just follow that video along there if you would like. I got my center snap on, which is great because I'm going to select the center of that. Now the top or the end of it is going to be up here somewhere. I'm just going to hold shift. Again, shift will keep it going straight. Now if I didn't, look and see, the point is again, something to keep an eye out for is where is that reference point going? In here it might look correct, but if I look at any of my other views, it's automatically connecting to this coordinate plane, which we don't want. So shift keeps it going straight up and down, keeps it in that orthogonal movement. So I'm going to click relatively up here close to one of the to the top of it. Doesn't really make a huge difference. Now it's going to ask me the start distance. And the start distance is, again, it's going to be relatively up here or close to the edge of the brick. And then what I can do is I can bring that in, and you can see it's starting to taper all of those individual blocks to make this sort of upside down kind of funnel thing. Now we have different options here. We can do flat, which isn't really going to do much, but we're just going to play around right now, and we're just going to keep it simple and have it come to a point. Let's say right there, and give it a little second to think. Boom. Look at that. And the nice thing about this is our blocks are still maintaining those gaps, and they're still nice and evenly spaced. Even up here at the top. Let's see. So now that we have our tapered rooftop, let's add a little bit more pizzazz. Woo! And let's give this a twist. So I'm going to select our rooftop, and I'm going to come up here to our transformation tab and do twist. Now it's going to it's asking us for the same axes. Again, you can follow along here. This is a pretty nice video because it's saying let's do this axis and bring it down here, and asking for a starting point and rotating it. So let's do that. And again, we're just going to reference that circle. I hope if there's anything you take away from these videos this week, it's that references are super important in understanding where things go and lining up. So I click the center of that circle. Again, I'm going to hold shift down to keep it nice and orthogonal. I can click close to that upper part, click there. Now it's going to ask me for first point to reference. I'm going to go back to my top view because I'm going to rotate it within the top view like a circle because it's already circularly laid out. So I'm going to bring it over to close to the edge, nothing too crazy. Click there, and then I can give it a twist. And I can give it quite harsh or acute twist angle. I'm not going to go too crazy. And I'm going to click there, let it load. And voila, we have a nice twisting rooftop. Look at that. Something you'd see maybe in a medieval castle. Another nice transformation that we're going to go over is the scale command. Now, you can do this in Gumball, but I want to discuss how you would do it if you wanted to scale something sort of non-uniformly. So we can come up to transform, We can go to scale, and we're going to do, you can do 2D, which is in one direction. Sorry, 1D is in one direction, 2D is in 2D, and 3D is volumetrically. So for right now, let's just do 2D. Let's keep it at the same height, going up, and we just want to expand it out so it looks like it's going over the edge of the wall. So we're going to select our group here. Again, we're going to select the center of the circle. We're going to come out and we're going to say roughly about there. If we wanted to, we could get exact, and we're going to scale it out a little bit. Not a whole lot. And then that scaled everything outwards. And if we look up at the edge, we can see that it is right there. So that's super nice. You can also put in fine numbers for that, but right now we're just getting familiar with working in Rhino and the different orientations and things like that. Another fun one is to shear something. So what happens if we want to shear this in a specific direction? Maybe we'll move the top of that point so it's maybe back here a little bit. Let's see if it's possible. And if we don't like it, we'll just hit undo. So again, I'm going to hit the center here, and let's keep it simple, and we'll come up to the top and we'll work in the right view, and we'll have it shear back a little bit. See what happens. Here, oh, that's quite large actually. And you want to know why? It's because I'm working in the right coordinate plane. It's trying to fasten itself to the right coordinate plane. If I was here, you can see how I'm kind of moving it back. I have a little bit more control going back and forth in the top view of maybe where I want to shear it. And it's only letting me move in the XY direction. Why don't we just move it back a little bit, give it a weird little gnome cap. There we go. It looks like a Hershey Kiss now. That's exactly what I've made. That is not what I intended, but you know what? Charlie and the Chocolate Factory style. What a crazy adventure. Anyway, let us now keep going and play around with some other options because we're just having fun at this point. Let's just keep going. You know, this wall right here, I'm not really... What are you doing? Oh, I locked it. Haha. I'm going to unlock it so that I can select this grouping of this wall. I don't like... Oh, that's interesting. I don't like how this wall is going directly into the side of my tower. What I want to do is I want to bend it over. So it's a little more gentle, more grazing. And I can do that over here with the bend command. I can actually just bend all those objects. So I'm going to select this guy, and I am going to hit the bend command. And it's going to ask me for the start of a spine. And what it's essentially saying is, essentially, make your line so that you can then bend it and evenly bend that straight line that you've made. So I'm going to select this middle point. My midpoint is not on. I'm going to select this midpoint, zoom out, pan over, zoom in, and select that. And so that's my first line. And if I look here at the top view, I can see I can actually bend it this way, and that way, and things like that. Now, I'm going to turn my snaps off because right now it's trying to snap to one of these objects over here. It's just kind of making it a little weird, which I don't like. And you know what? I'm going to hide my roof. I'm going to work in the wall. I'm going to hide my roof. Oh, is that not in the roof? Interesting. Anyway, we'll take a look at that in a second. But I'm going to just move it over so it's kind of almost kissing the wall right there. And there we go. just bend all of those pieces. And we've got a nice even wall. It looks like it's kind of flowing into the tower there. Now sometimes this happens. You can see a little glitch in the graphics. That's fine, not a problem. So that is sort of the basics of these transformations. There are some other transformations we didn't use. For example, the flow along curve. It could be another option to arraying objects, is you could have them flow. The big difference is these transformations up here are actually going to modify the object itself, whereas array is just going to copy it. So all these blocks down here, they're the same. These blocks here are not, because you can see they even have a slight curve to it itself. That's something to keep in mind when you're actually building an object. If you want to bring this into the 3D world, it might be easier to make a whole bunch of bricks and then lay them out versus making custom bricks like this. Each one of these is different. That's because we've given it so many different twists and turns and things like that. This is something to keep in mind. But for right now, we're just having a good time. We're playing along. And if you're interested in sprucing it up or giving it some details, you could put some windows in. Let's get rid of some of these blocks. No, that one. You know, it's all up to you. Choose your own adventure at this point. And in fact, you could even choose different curves, different lines if you wanted to. But this is just a basic overview of those things, and we'll probably go into detail a little bit more later. There we go. I turned off that time. Anywho, thanks for watching, and I hope this helps with this week's lab, and I will see you later.